What's going on, everybody? This is Anderson.
Christian here. What's up, guys?
This is starting to become like a really fun thing. Like, I love doing this.
Starting? What do you mean starting? It was
Well, I mean,
always fun, Anderson. Are you just now enjoying it?
I'm just barely now like killing off the nerves and like, I feel like I'm in my.
It's getting easier.
It's getting easier, We've done maybe like 13, 14 episodes already, so I feel a lot more comfortable.
We're catching our vibe.
Yeah. And tonight's episode is near and dear. It's something that I try to practice as often as I can.
Same.
And it's been life-changing. It really has. And that is positivity.
To be positive.
Yes. So turn on, tune out, drop in. Get ready to ride the wave of weird as we are about to enter 111. So positivity. What is positivity? Give us like a standard Webster dictionary definition.
All right. Positivity.
Yeah. In that voice too, please.
Positivity. What is positivity? Positivity is the practice or tendency to be positive or optimistic in life. I would say that's a good definition of us, right, Anderson?
Yeah.
When we are positive, we engage in positive thinking, have positive emotions, and engage in positive behaviors like kindness and generosity. All of this positivity contributes to positive outcomes like improved well-being and mental health.
What?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But how does one just become positive?
I think it's on outlook, I think it's all based on outlook because you could take, two people who may have experienced the exact same things and they will have two completely different outlooks. And I think, it's just based on mindset, on interpretation. I think we are always talking about like if something happens to us that maybe we didn't agree with or we thought was like not a downfall but like a bummer of some kind.
Yeah.
It's natural to like let it like affect you, but then we'll try to quickly change that and be like, all right, it just wasn't meant to be. Like something in the cards, made that happen. And lo and behold, like, there was a reason why it didn't happen. I think that's happened to us like many a times.
Yeah.
And I think it's just based on outlook because then you'll have somebody else who may have experienced the exact same thing and they're just like, oh man, that's messed up. Why do I always have bad luck? I know so many people like that.
But why do people like stay in that situation? Like, why do they not try to be positive?
I can't tell you why. I think it's psychology. But some people they have that saying, misery loves company, I think some people just kind of enjoy having like that like pessimistic outlook, it's like comforting for them. It's familiar to them where it's easy for them to just take that role on. Whereas like maybe being positive and changing your outlook takes work because you have to kind of push through, all the bad and try to like cheer yourself up. Like I consider myself an optimistic person always, half glass full rather than half glass empty, I've had my moments, but some people like dwelling in that like negative space.
Yeah, but at what age were you like, I'm gonna be positive, like, because I know like when you're in a negative space, somebody that's like over the top, like, oh, positive, be positive, it's annoying.
Oh,
it's not only just annoying, but it's kind of campy. Like, it's like cheesy, and it sounds like I'm being a negative person right now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But that's you get that so much. You get that from people who just, like you said, they just want to be miserable.
Yeah. I try to stay away from people that like push their, and that's with anything, people who try to push their ideas or like their, not their agendas, but like push their beliefs onto you. Like I've always considered myself like a positive person since I was a child. Like you can ask my family, anybody who's close to me. I've never been one to just be like, you know, like it's just not my personality. But I'm never like, hey guys, cheer up, because I mean, who wants to hear that? Like nobody wants to be around that. I think it's like I'll try to find ways to cheer someone up, you know, by like some kind of act of kindness, or, you know, it just like try to like divert their attention from whatever they're experiencing. But those kind of people can get a little annoying for sure, you know, like, but what about you? I mean, did you like reach an age where like you switched from like negativity to positivity? Like, or have you always been?
No.
Because you're one of the most positive people I know, Anderson. Like, it's hard for me to wrap my head around you ever not being like that.
Yeah. And it's not to say that, you know, I wasn't a happy-go-lucky kid. I definitely was. I was a very happy kid everywhere I went. I was lucky. I was fortunate to have, you know, a lot of people just shower me with love, you know, like they always were like, oh, let's take him, let's go here, let's go there. They always like made me feel very, you know, loved, and it was nice. But, you know, you go into your adolescence and things just aren't the same as when you're a kid. You know, you play in school, you didn't have cliques, your self-esteem, you didn't even know what a self-esteem was, because you're just like always like, you're either happy or you're not. You know, like it was so easy when you're in like elementary. But a lot of it had to do with like, you know, you go into like junior high, you're trying to figure out like who your friends are, how to be cool, or
I can see that. You
know, and it's just over time it takes a toll. Yeah. You know, and thank goodness I was never bullied. I was never picked on. But at the same time, it was like I was still just very insecure, you know, just all the time. Like I had no like self-worth at that age. And I know a lot of kids go through it. It's just, you know, what type of environment you're in. Yeah. And it wasn't that I was in a bad environment. It's just my parents worked all the time, you know, so they didn't get to sit there and, you know, kind of like foster this like, you know, very family oriented, you know, relationship. It was very much like they provided, and yeah, you know, so they don't know what's going on with like my friends, or if I have friends, or
if you have two working parents, it's hard for them to yeah.
And I mean, it started to get worse as I you know, went into high school. Just a very low self-esteem, always was in a dark place, but always wore a smile. Like nobody would guess. They'd be like, dude, you're the happiest person I'd ever like seen. Yeah. But no, I wasn't. It was really dark, and I had shocking to me. And I had those same tendencies, like just being in that spot, you know, that negative space, like your thinking, your mindset, everything that floats through your mind. Those things affect you over time, especially with your subconscious. You just don't realize it, you know? Like, when you're sitting there telling yourself, like, oh, man, you're so overweight, you can't do this, you can't do that. After a while, your subconscious is like, you know what? I agree. you know, like, let's just be honest. Yeah, I agree with that, you know? But really, you don't understand how powerful your thoughts are, you know? And I didn't realize it until this one day. I mean, it sounds so silly because it is silly, but sometimes that's what happens. I was fortunate enough to just have this switch flip on. And
what made the switch?
Okay, so the switch happened, I think I was like 22, 23. And mind you, if you go back and you read some of my journal entries, they're dark. You wouldn't recognize me in those words. And that was an outlet I had. Mm-hmm. It was, I literally just wrote about like what was going on through my headspace, you know, and I don't know. It's so bizarre to me to think that was me, you know. I look back and I'm like, that's a stranger to me.
I can't picture it at all.
Yeah, it's definitely life-changing. So I had always been pretty fortunate in like building friendships, you know, even as a young adult. Even though I had a very low self-esteem, I was very much a people person. I got along with a lot of people. You know, everybody always found me funny or something where we could always relate. And
Yeah, you're very social.
so it didn't hit me until, and mind you, this is like years of just working at the donut shop, feeling like I was imprisoned because I couldn't leave because my parents needed me.
Yeah.
And I was trying to go to school, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know I wanted to make movies. I wanted to do like anything with like film, but I was in a town that really didn't like have that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd have to move to LA or the Bay Area, and how was I going to do that? I was stuck being responsible for my parents' business.
Yeah.
And it was like so repetitive, Christian. Like the day to day was just like if I could edit this into like a wake up, 4:30, deet, 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 hit the alarm, get out of bed, you know, put on my clothes, drive to the shop, put donuts in a box, put them in the back seat. You know, it was literally every single day that I was experiencing it. And it was just like so mundane and annoying. And I remember pushing the donut cart one day into the hospital going, when is my life going to change? Like, when does this stop? Like, I couldn't see like an end in sight. I just felt so trapped. And I think things happen for a reason, you know, like
of course.
Over time, all the negatives started to like, I started to question like why I felt things, you know, like, man, why are you always like self-deprecating? Like, why? What is the point?
Yeah.
Because every time you do that, you feel worse and you keep spinning downwards into the worst like pit that just doesn't end. And it just keeps collecting more and more like negative feelings, you know? Yeah, so it felt like things just kind of started to slowly change for me once I started, you know, meditating and really just trying out these different, I guess, I don't know what you'd call them, like therapy, you know?
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that after a little while, the synchronicities started to happen, like things that I was like, that caught my attention, and I was like, I was just thinking that. And then like, it happened, right?
Yeah.
So I remember going to the donut shop one morning. It was a Sunday morning. And one of my best friends, his dad, shows up to the shop, and he's just like, "Hey, Anderson, how's it going?" And I was like,
in that voice.
Yeah, kind of like Yogi Bear. No, and I was like, "Hey, Mr. J, I'm good. You know, like, how are you?" And he's like, "Oh, just bringing some, you know, some breakfast to church." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's awesome." And he's like, "Well, I hope you're doing good, you know. Pete says hi, and he's in college, his son, one of my best friends." And no, it was weird because I got in the car to go deliver, and right before I left, all I remember thinking was, man, I'm lucky. I was like, man, I'm lucky. Like this wave of emotions just showered me. And I remember thinking like, I am so lucky. I grew up in their household. I grew up in my other friend Philip's household. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I didn't realize it until that moment that I was very lucky to have all these fortunate childhood memories with some really good friends and their parents. And I remember thinking how silly it was, but I was like, man, Pete's parents used to always be like inviting me for dinner, like since I was there. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize it at the time. Like, that's like not really your responsibility as a parent, you know? But it was like literally every time I was at their house, and I'd always be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll stay for dinner, you know? And it was different because I didn't experience that in my household. My parents were already asleep, you know? Yeah. So we never had dinner as like a family unit or anything like that. So, you know, we sat around the table, we prayed before we ate, and it was really profound. That moment that I started to like think about all those moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it was just like this feeling of just like gratitude.
It's mindset, dude. It's
like,
mindset, 100%.
It literally just like hugged me. And I just kept having thoughts like, how come that customer is so kind to me? She leaves me a tip like literally every single day, more than the piece of pastry she buys.
Wow.
How come this customer comes in, smiles at me literally all the time, and is so gracious? Later, the guy helped me with my teeth.
Wow.
I didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the weird thing is, that was like synchronicity, because I didn't know what he did for a living. Maybe like context clues, or I don't know, because I was like, one day he came in the shop, and mind you, this is like after all that moment that I was just like,
the realization.
Yeah, I was like, it was like a awakening moment for me. But this other customer comes in, and for some reason my tooth was hurting. It was my wisdom tooth, right? And I was like, I remember asking, and I was like, something in my gut was like, this guy deals with wisdom teeth.
What?
This guy deals with wisdom teeth.
And you had no idea that he was...
I had no idea. I had zero.
Weird, dude. That's
zero
so weird.
ideas. I put that on everybody. I had no idea he was like an oral surgeon.
Wow.
And something inclined me to say, my tooth hurts, when he asked how my day was.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, that's not good. And I was like, I think it's my wisdom tooth. And he's like, oh, yeah, you got to get that checked out. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I can check it out for you. And I was like, why? Like, what?
Excuse me, sir.
And he was like, yeah, that's what I do for a living.
Wow.
I'm basically, I pull out wisdom teeth.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he looked into my mouth. He's like, yeah, that one's coming through pretty rapidly.
Oh,
we gotta get that out. And I was like, whoa, that is crazy. Like, I can't tell you like how many like different like synchronistic things happened.
Let's
just
define
because
that
of,
word for people who don't know what synchronicities
go
are.
for it.
Okay. Synchronicity is a phenomenon in which people interpret two separate and seemingly unrelated experiences as being meaningfully intertwined, even though there is no evidence that one led to the other or that the two events are linked in any other casual way. Though many people perceive signs or spiritual meaning in synchronistic events, most scientists believe that such events are more likely coincidences that only seem meaningful due to aspects of human thinking, such as confirmation bias. So there's no scientific proof behind it.
There isn't, but hey, if we want to find, some meaning behind something that does good for us.
But look at that instance.
Yeah.
Look at that instance. You had no idea.
I had no idea. I had zero idea that he was an oral surgeon.
And
he
just
came
to be
at the right time to help me out.
Anderson, you're just too in tune with
it. It was bizarre. And you know what the weird part is? He became one of our like close family friends after that. And he helped my dad, he helped my brother, for free.
Yeah.
For free. Like, this guy did not have to do that.
That's just good people, man.
Good people, like, and the weird part is like I started to feel different once I switched my mindset and like the things that float through my head space. I was like, no, you know what? If this person can be positive every single day when they come into the shop, and that person can be positive every single day when they come into the shop, there's no reason why I can't do the same.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder what their secret is. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to start thinking positively. I don't even know why, but let's just try. I have nothing to lose. I have absolutely nothing to lose. I'm going to do it. And I started just
took that leap.
And at one point, Christian, it felt like I was a radio tower. And
just a beacon.
Yeah. And like, things that I thought about would happen. And I was like, okay, that is very weird. Like, very weird. And like, they could be small things, but at the same time, it was still really mind-bending to experience it, Like, one time I remember, I know this sounds like really silly, but I was like, I think I said, I was like sitting at the shop, and I remember thinking, I want to go and pursue like I wanted to go and pursue like a film degree.
Yeah.
Right? But my parents were like, no, just go into nursing. And I was like, why? I don't want to go. I don't want to do the nursing, you know? And they were like, because you can make good money. And I was like, yeah, but I don't like blood. I don't want to do that, you know? Like, I don't want to do math. I don't want to take all these, like, you know, anatomy or chemistry classes. Like, I'm done with that.
You have to have a passion for that kind of stuff.
And I remember thinking, like, okay, something's going to happen. I remember thinking, like, something's going to happen where it's going to work out. I remember thinking, like, it's going to work out and good things are going to happen. I just know it. And I just kept telling myself, like, if I want to do film, I'm going to have to, like, at least, you know, because you can think it all day, but you have to also act on it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I remember out of nowhere, my friend, one of my good friends, his little brother messaged me and said, hey, my friend needs some help working on a short film. Okay. And I was like, oh.
Interesting.
Okay. And I was like, he was younger than me. He was younger than me by probably like 2 years. And he was already in college, like at university. And I was still at junior college. And I remember I was like, yeah, let me do that. And I contacted him and I was like, hey man, I heard you needed help. He's like, yeah, I need a production assistant. And I was like, yeah, I can help you.
Yeah.
And I asked him about the program. He's like, yeah, the program is cool. Like, you make the most of it. It's not a film program, but we made it a film program. Okay, yeah, let's go. And I remember I connected so well with him, and I helped him out. And after that, it was like, that was like the answer. That summer, I remember helping him, and I was like, man, I'm going to go here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to this school, and I'm going to do the same program just so I can, like, do something I wanted to do. Get your foot in the
door, yeah.
And I did. And, like, that summer, I applied, and I got in, and I just finished, like, my last course for City College. Mm-hmm. And I was like, let's go to university.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, ever since then, it was just like,
here you are.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because, to be honest, it was like, I think, like, I took 2 classes, prerequisites to get into the nursing program. One was a math class and the other was a chemistry class, and I failed chemistry. I couldn't do it. It just was not for me. And that summer, that's when I kept thinking about it, and it was so weird because all these, like, synchronistic events kept leading me to answers that I had in my headspace. You know, my cousin, she got into, like, this huge fight with her, like, boyfriend of, like, 7 years at the time. And she's like, we're done. Like, we're totally done. He doesn't want anything to do with me. And I remember I told her, I remember I was, like, consoling her. And I was like, you really just have to change your mindset. Like, you're sad, but ask yourself why you're so sad. Instead, you should ask yourself, like, if he's not happy, then he deserves to be happy, and I deserve to be happy. And it might not be with that person, but you can still be happy.
Yeah.
You know? And I told her, tell your boyfriend, why can't you be positive? Just be positive. And I know that we just started the show saying, like, that sounds cheesy. Mm-hmm. Those words saved that relationship.
Wow.
And, like, literally it flipped the switch, and they've been married for, oh wow, almost like 18. Well, Jeez. together they've been married since 2008.
Oh my gosh.
But they had been together since they were 16.
So that saved their relationship, just changing mindset.
Just changing the mindset. And they were on the same path all of a sudden. Like, the weird part is,
what was his reaction to her?
He was like, what? Like, it just confused him. I believe she said, like, he was confused, but he was like, and she was like, yeah, just be positive, and let's just.
And that's such a simple, like, thing to ask.
Yeah.
You know? Like, just be positive.
Just be
and
positive.
That alone.
And he was like,
had
what?
Not considered that before?
Yeah, because he would think that she was the negative one.
Okay.
So for her to say that to him, I think it kind of, like, struck a chord, and they worked things out. And the weird part is, I remember my cousin, she was like, thank you so much. Like, as weird as it sounds, like, you're right.
Yeah.
Being positive, no matter what, changes, like, your perspective on everything. And the weirdest part is I don't know why I felt it, but I kept saying to her, the thoughts in your head will become reality. Mm-hmm. So be careful, like, what you, like, put out there, because you're going to attract it. Because I told you, I felt like a radio tower, and whatever I put out, it just kept coming back.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa, this is really weird. She calls me, like, maybe like a week, 2 weeks later, and she was like, hey, turn on Oprah. And I was like, why? She's like, is this where you got all that information about being positive, about how your thoughts, like, can become, like, reality? And I was like, no. She's like, where'd you get it from then? And I was like, I don't know. I don't.
So then, was there like an episode on Oprah about positivity?
The weirdest thing. So my cousin's like, turn on Oprah. I was like, why? She's like, you're telling me you just came up with that whole, talk about being positive and thinking, like, positive and how it can change your life. Like, you're telling me, like, that you just came up with it. I was like, I don't know how I just felt it, but I felt it. Like, it just came in a huge wave, and that was my truth. Turned on Oprah, and as silly as it sounds, there's a lady named Rhonda Byrne.
I was just about to ask you, because you said, like, first you, like, hinted at, like, what's the secret?
Yeah.
And then literally the law of attraction, right?
Yeah.
So I've never read The Secret, but please explain to us.
So The Secret it's basically this book or film, actually. Well, it's both, that came out where this lady was like, she interviewed a bunch of different, just different personalities, like people from all walks of life, like from positive mindset, like coaches, life coaches, and they all had similar types of, techniques or tips in the game of life.
Yeah.
And she was like, this secret is, like, the law of attraction works by the thoughts you put out, what you're thinking, your headspace. You attract what you think about the most. So if you're always thinking bad, negative things, and you're always a victim in your story, you're gonna get this, everything that you're asking for.
Yeah.
But if you change that, and it's all about the life that you are living and should be living, you start to manifest it slowly but surely, because your thoughts are powerful. Like, that feeling that I had before, when I told you, like, I felt like a radio tower, and everything I was putting out there was coming back to me. That sealed the deal for me when that came out. And my cousin asked me straight up, she was like, dude, where did you read that already? And I was like, no, I've never read any self-help books.
Does that kind of dwell in the same space as, like, manifestation?
Yeah, so the funny thing is, The Secret came and went. It came and it lasted for maybe, like, a couple of years.
Yeah.
From, like,
I remember when it came out, it was, like, really popular.
Yeah, it was super popular. And then it just kind of faded out, and, like, people forgot about it, which is crazy, because, yeah, law of attraction, manifesting your destiny, all of these things have been, even before The Secret. Yeah. The Secret just kind of put it into,
emphasized it.
Yeah, and, like, easier to understand, right? And then all of a sudden, the last, like, 3 years, I start seeing all these social influencers and other people talking about, oh, it's the law of attraction, or I'm manifesting. And I'm like,
that term
okay,
is, like, super popular.
This is making its way back.
Yeah.
So it's like another wave. It's like every decade there's a wave of it, Like, maybe in the 90s it was like Tony Robbins and some of his self-help things, but...
Have you ever created a vision board? I hear, like, people who create vision boards are also, like if you can visually see it, then you can, like, make it happen. I
personally haven't created a vision board, but I have a vision in my headspace of what I want.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that, no, I didn't become, like, this multimillionaire by any means yet. Right. Because my understanding of the destiny that I have is I have to basically work for it.
Yeah.
Like from the bottom to the top. Because my soul, what I think is asking for is for it to be more rewarding, you have to sweat.
You have to endure
for that.
everything that
Yes,
comes with it.
you have to endure it so you know when you're looking back that moment was something you used to pray for.
And what's funny is I see here that the author, Rhonda Byrne, says highlights the importance of gratitude and visualization in achieving one's desires, along with alleged examples. Later chapters describe how to improve one's prosperity, relationships, and health with more general thoughts about the universe. That's interesting. You have to practice gratitude. You have to...
That moment that I told you that I got just an overwhelming amount of like the gratitude from seeing my friend's dad. Just a generic day. It wasn't even special. It was just an average Sunday. But it wasn't average because the more you're grateful for every waking minute, the more you understand that every day, every moment you have is a special day. But we're so accustomed to just working for the weekends. So you don't look at your Monday through Friday as anything special. You look at it as like, oh, I got to work. But that's why you have to, honestly, you have to be present and you have to really think like about the little things, like practice reverence, because it's those moments where you look at it, you look at what you're grateful for and you're like, man, it could always be worse.
Oh, for sure.
It could always be worse, but you really have to just bathe in like this bath of nothing but gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, like before I go to sleep, before I wake up, even in the moments, you know, like when we're traveling, I'm always like, I'm so grateful, you know,
that we get to do this.
Yeah. Like it's a tremendous amount of like gratitude that you need to put out there and that you need to be grateful, because if not, guess what? You're going to attract the things you don't want in your life.
Yeah.
You know? And like I said, it is hard to always be positive. I'm not always positive.
No, you're human. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't be that person 24/7.
But the thing that you need to remember is the second you do have an incident where you're angry or your negative thoughts come in, just stop it right there before it gets worse, before it elevates and like grows into like this huge cloud of just darkness, right?
Yeah.
You got to cut it before it can grow. And it's a practice. You have to practice it over time. You know, like it's very hard for me to get very, very upset, because when I'm starting to feel certain ways that are more negative than positive, I usually stop and ask myself. I ask myself like, why do you feel this way? You know, that awareness is important. To be consciously aware, that is meaning you have control over your thoughts, right? If you think about it, if you don't have control over your thoughts, you just kind of like autopilot and you just go about your day and you complain and you keep complaining and everything sucks. But you can't live like that. If you want to live like that, that's your choice. But I'm just...
And I think it not only affects your mental health when you start thinking that way, it affects your physical health too. You know, if you're in it, like, I mean, you've heard like, oh, you're making yourself sick.
Yeah.
You know, I know people like that who like will just like, you know, say like they'll get like, so like when COVID started,
Yeah.
you know, I have family members that were like freaking out about it and they hadn't even gotten COVID,
Right.
you know, and they were literally making themselves sick over the worrying of what was this going to do to, you know, the country, what was this going to do to like loved ones and stuff like that. And I remember just saying like, you have to stop because like it's affecting you physically and you don't even have it yet, you know? And it's the same thing with just, I mean, like in our profession, I think we deal with a lot of like difficult people.
Oh, yeah.
And if you take that home every day, you know, like the conflicts that you might encounter on your, you know, on your work days, if you take that home every day, like, what is it doing for you? What is it doing to your loved ones? You know, it's affecting your relationships at home. It's affecting your, you know, your free time, you know, and you have to stop it as soon as it starts, for sure.
Yeah, and when you practice gratitude, so say, you know, we do deal with a lot of difficult people in our industry, like very, very difficult. And sometimes, you know, it's hard to just like let it go. But you find meaning behind why you're going through it. You learn compassion. You learn to say, like, it's not you, it's them.
Yeah.
You didn't ask for this, and you don't take it anywhere else other than, you know, when you're dealing with it, you just flip the switch and just think positive thoughts. And I know that helped me out because I had a really tough time 2 years ago. And it brought me to, like, my breaking point.
And I
like,
think it also gives you the upper hand in the situation.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with a difficult person and you catch yourself maybe stooping down to their level because they're speaking to you in a certain way and they're vibrating at a different frequency than you are, which is lowering your high frequency, you know, and then you can, like, if you step out of, you know, that space and you just like, okay, I'm not going to, like, approach this in a negative way, I feel like you really do walk out with the upper hand. Like, I can't even tell you how many times you've told me, like, Christian, you know, at this point, like, you can't even be mad about it. Just laugh about it, because it's not gonna help you to just, like, stay angry about it. Like, that doesn't serve you any purpose.
Right. Yeah, you just, because it just literally brings everything around you down.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what it's like to be around a negative person. It just, when you're around a negative person, it literally sucks all the energy out. Like, it's like a vampire.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, like you could be so excited about something, and all it takes is one negative person to be like, yeah, that sucked.
Yep.
And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Hey, well, what about my feelings?
Yeah.
You know, but again, when you're self-aware, you'll understand that it's not you, it's them. And they're trying to bring you to that certain level. And, you know.
And then you kind of feel sorry for them too.
Yeah,
know.
you learn to be compassionate towards
Yeah.
people that are difficult or that are negative, because, you know, they're going through their own rough patches.
Exactly.
You know, and sometimes it kills them to be around people that are extremely happy, you know, and sometimes what ends up happening is those people will leave your life because they're not vibrating with you.
Yeah.
They're not at that same energy, so they just slowly fade away.
Yep.
They're no longer in your life for a reason.
We only match energy here.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's true, though. You have to stop any kind of, like, self-doubt, any kind of self-deprecating. Everything is a lesson to be learned. All of those bad moments, it is really based upon your perspective of how you look at it. Like, it could be the worst situation ever, but once you overcome it, you look back and you're like, okay, now I know why I had to go through that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had to go through that hell to be who I am today.
You had to learn from it.
I had to learn how to deal with that type of energy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep, definitely. And I think, like, confidence plays a big part in it too, like you said, like, because that's going to take you miles.
Yeah.
Just believing in yourself a little bit more.
Believing in yourself. That's the other thing, is you will not attract or bring in the things that you want into your life if the universe or God doesn't believe that you believe in it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you might be like, I want to be rich. Man, how am I going to be rich? You're not. Sorry. You know? Like, if you're like, I'm going to be great at something, and this something is photography, videography, writing, and you wholeheartedly know in your heart that this is something that you're going to be great at, and you're putting out the work that you admire, it's going to happen.
Yep.
It will happen over time, and you're going to look back and be like, wow, how did that happen? And the moment you say, how did that happen, you'll realize, okay, I believed in myself when nobody else did.
That was me the whole way, pushing myself, encouraging myself to get through this step and then getting through that step and just continuing on. You're literally putting in the work without even realizing it.
Yeah. It's true. And, you know, that mindset of just being positive, it sounds cheesy as hell when I say it, like, hey, be positive, you know, but it's not. Like, you have nothing to lose by being happy, you know? Why be in a place where you're, like, sad all the time or depressed when you could just literally switch your thinking, your mind frame, and stop dwelling and just go after the things that you want to do, find out how you can achieve whatever that goal is. You know, if there's a will, there's a way. And if you believe in yourself, you put all that energy into it, that energy is going to actually bring you what you have been, like, wishing for.
Yeah.
So, just saying, like, I've had some pretty big things happen to me. And every time I ask, and, you know it, my fiance knows it. My fiance is like, it just always seems that you've had to just go through certain things, like these steps, and you slowly just keep progressing.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to just be like, I don't want to throw in the towel, F this. Like, what is it all? Like, you have to find purpose, first of all. Like, there has to be a purpose for what you're doing, because that's what's going to ultimately bring you joy. Not just having a ton of money and, fancy cars. Like, there's still sad people out there with all those things. They they don't know what makes them happy because they haven't, like, dug deep down.
Yeah. It's not always going to be the materialistic things.
No, it's not. Like, I'm rich as hell. Like, people don't even realize how rich I am.
Yeah.
And I'm rich with all the experiences that I've had. I'm enriched like you wouldn't believe. The experiences, the memories. I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm so fortunate, So, every day, practice gratitude. Every single day.
And it could really be for the smallest things. I try to do it every morning. I mean, I'm not going to say that I do it every single morning, but when I remember, I try to wake up and give thanks for, having, like, things like my legs and my arms and being able to breathe on my own and just things that we take for granted, I mean, I was having that conversation with my mom a few weeks ago. Ironically enough, we were going for a run. And I was telling her, I'm like, because she's trying to get back into physical fitness, and it gets harder as you get older, and I was like, Mom, you just have to take advantage of the fact that you can walk right now.
You're capable.
You're capable. And, I was like, I try to practice gratitude every day, and I'll wake up and give thanks for, these things that I just mentioned. And then, like, 2 days later, I sprained my ankle. And I was like, okay, and I was on crutches for like 2 weeks, and I was like, this is why you give thanks, because then I experienced not being able to do things without the crutches for 2 weeks. I was like literally like they had to help me get around the house, and they have a 2-story home, and like getting up and down the stairs was wild, just having to like lift myself up every step, I think I've jokingly mentioned that, like, I felt like Lieutenant Dan, like, the entire time from Forrest Gump, And it was an experience. It made you see how difficult life can be with certain obstacles.
Right.
Not that, like, it's impossible. By any means is it impossible. Like, I would never say that. There's people that do it every day. But it's just, if you're put in that situation from not being there before, it's eye-opening for you, And like I said, ironically, that happened to me right after I told her that. But, it makes sense. It's where you choose to be in your headspace that affects everything around you,
Yeah.
And she understood what I was saying. And, I hope it helped her, at the time. But I tell all people that that I can when I see them experiencing, difficult life, just things. And, it's hard to stay positive. You're human, and not everything's going to have, like, a ray of sunshine attached to it. But if you can just start small with, like, little things, just I think it goes a long way once it adds up.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, just being in that headspace, like, when I say, even, like, all these self-help books and all these things out there, you attract what you think, right? And, positive attracts positive. And then, yeah, there'll be one of those little curveballs that comes in that's negative, that really tests your you know, ability to stay positive through all that, right?
Yeah.
But the more you practice it, you're going to end up overcoming it. Like you really are. People like to be around happy people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people are attracted to somebody's energy that is positive, you know? I tell myself this every time whenever I go into any kind of situations. And yeah, I tell you this all the time. Like, I do not like public speaking. Like, it took me forever to even be like, you know what, let's roll a camera for this podcast. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, I don't know, you know? But again, I had to ask myself, like, why? What are you afraid of?
Yeah.
And a part of me is like, nothing really. Like, in all honesty, like, I really don't care if somebody watches or doesn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And really that was the reinforcement that pushed us to jump on this.
Yeah.
Because I kept saying, like, we're going to overthink it. Don't overthink it. You know? Yeah. Like, just know what you're doing, like what your purpose is. And honestly, the purpose is to finally share a lot of these experiences. Like, you know, I always share with you, telling you all these things, but it just felt like the time was right. Like, all the synchronicities were there. And I was like, you know what? It is time to share. Because
more and more people are finding it relatable.
Yeah.
I know when I'm having conversations about our conversations, like when I'm extending that information that you're sharing with me, people are always drawn to it. And which is why when you mentioned doing this, I was like, yes, I'm totally on board with that, because I feel like there's a whole group of people that find all of this very relatable. And I love it.
Yeah. Trust me, I still don't know how I got here, you know? But at the same time, I do. And it's not until you look back that you realize, like, these are the days and the moments that you prayed for a decade ago.
Blessings.
Yeah. You know what I mean? The people that you start to look at who are in your life are in your life for a reason.
Yep.
You know?
And the people who aren't in your life anymore are not there for a reason as well.
Correct. So, yeah, it's easier said than done. It really is.
But just give it a shot. What do you have to lose?
You have nothing to lose by just, you know, being optimistic, looking at the good in everything rather than just always being super negative. And you'll start to see the synchronicities will just overwhelm you at times. You know, like a lot of I've gotten so many like random gigs where I'm like, I don't even know how did that even happen? There are so many other filmmakers and, you know, videographers out there that are 100 times more talented than I am, right? But like I said, it's how you perceive what you do and how much belief you have in yourself.
And not even just that, Anderson. I think and we've talked about it before, it's also the people connections that you make, you know, and there's a reason why you do get certain gigs. And it's because people, like you said, want to be around happy people, you know. I mean, of course, your talent speaks volumes, you know, but it's also how you connected with someone who then maybe referred you to someone else, you know, and personality, mindset, it's all about mindset. It goes a long way, you know, and I think that's also a big part of how we've gotten to where we've gotten, because like we talk about it every day, like, dude, we're so lucky that we're like in this circle of people that are great at what they do. We know so many people that are just masters of their craft,
right? And
it's uplifting to be around them.
It is,
you know,
it's motivating. It's like the circle you always dreamed about, you know, like you're like, man, I want my circle to be that strong, you know. When you have a circle where, you know, your other friends are telling you like, hey, we're all going to eat because we all lift each other up. Yep. That was like, you know, you do come across people that'll talk the talk, but when you come across somebody that walks the walk, shout out to Max Michelle. What's up, bro?
We're going to have Max Michelle on the show pretty soon. He's one of those people that you're just lucky to be around, man.
So lucky.
Talk about a positive person who is such a good person, and he's so lucky to be in his position. Like, he deserves all of it. Like, like, you know, his family is amazing. I mean, I love his wife and kids. Like, they're great. Like, overall, you can tell he deserves every bit of happiness that he has in his life.
Yes, like hardworking, believes in himself. The guy is just 100%, like one of the best people I've ever met in my life. And, you know, for me to be able to call him like not just a friend, but like a good friend. Yeah. I am so fortunate, you know, and it's like energy matches energy.
And because I know he feels the same way about you, you know. I've heard him like say very good things about you. So like you said, energy matches energy. People you surround yourself with, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it really does. So
can't wait to have you on the show back.
Yeah, we're very fortunate.
We're fortunate to have Kawa on the show too.
Kawa's on the show. We have a lot of
great guy.
Yeah, we have so many good people in our lives. Yeah. Because again, it's you attract what you
put out.
You put out. So if you want to be a dickhead, you're gonna attract a lot of dickheads. All right.
Hey, but maybe some people like being around the dickheads. You know.
I mean. Yeah, to each your own, I guess. You know, it's just that they're in that storyline of their life.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
no judgment.
I feel like we've kind of crawled out of like, you know, little rough patches. Mm-hmm. A lot of self-realization, a lot of self-awareness, and I'm grateful for all of it. You know, every bad thing that's ever happened to me, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
Think about that.
It's character building.
It's crazy, right? You think like, what? How are you grateful for all those bad things that have happened?
It's character building. It's molding you. It has molded you into the person that you've become today. You know, for whatever reason, like you said, you learn something. You learn something from everything you go through, whether it's bad or good. It's taught you some kind of a lesson.
Yeah, it really has. So, if y'all have a lot of positivity in your hearts, go ahead and let us know, like, what y'all are grateful for.
Yeah. Share some of those experiences with us.
Yep. Do you want to give them?
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Tell us about some synchronicities. Let's hear some of those.
Yeah, and what did you manifest?
Please. Did you have a vision board? What did you have on your vision board? But you can reach out to us on all of our socials at enter, ENTER, the number 1, and 11, ELEVEN. Enter 111 is our handle. TikTok, IG, Facebook, Twitter. Not Pinterest yet. I'm working on it.
Pinterest. Where's Pinterest? All right. Well, thank you so much for everybody that supports and listens to our channel. And
we love you guys.
Yeah, have a good one. And, you know, hope you have a positive day, night, morning, wherever you're at. Things could always be worse, so don't forget that.
Bye.
Smile.